Hi everyone, this is Kara from Flowers for Revelry in Sacramento Zone 9B, and there have been a lot of questions and queries on Facebook about how everybody in a warm climate is watering their plants. And I was a landscape designer in the region for 16 plus years, and I just kind of wanted to share what I do, take it or leave it, and if it helps someone, I think that would be fantastic. So this is a bed that I had some snapdragons in, and of course they were winter snaps, group 1 and 2, so they are done for the season, and it took me a long time to get rid of them, and I just kind of wanted to show you what I've been doing. So this bed right here is 16 feet long and 3 feet wide. I find that tends to be my sweet spot. My pathways are a little wider than you need them to be. They're 3 feet wide, but I like to be able to get a small, we call it little green, but it's a small wagon that I can pull around and get around corners to bring in soil and different things. So for lumber, 16 feet is the longest length of lumber that you can conveniently get at your local box store. And then 3 feet wide is my sweet spot for being able to access both sides of the bed from one side, or be able to step over the bed if I really need to, but still be wide enough that the soil isn't drying out, that I'm getting full use of the area. I find you can get away with 42-inch beds, but I find that 48-inch beds, 4-foot wide beds, are just a little too tall, or a little too wide, I should say, to get into the center of the bed, and to conveniently clean them out and manage plants and things of that nature, let alone jump over them. And I am short. I'm only 5'2", so I need that little bit of narrowness in my beds. So my husband set these up. They're made from 2x6s, and so you can see 2x6s here. It's just a little bit cost savings. So they are 2x6 16 footers, and then 3 feet wide here at the end, with 4x4s at the corners of the corners of the beds right here, and then a couple sections of pressure treated 2x4 in the center of the beds, just to keep the beds from bowing out. And this one, of course, with two 2x6s, which are actually 5.5 inches wide. These beds are approximately, 10.5, 11 inches tall. And I filled this one up completely to the top with brand new compost. No topsoil or sand blend. This is just pure compost, garden bed compost. So it has vermicompost and mushroom compost and steer manure and gypsum added into it. I have added organic fertilizer into this, which is mainly chicken manure based, into this heavily, and I filled it up to the top. But compost is organic and does tend to sink down even if you compact it well. And then, just to show you, I have about 18 automated valves around this garden. Around my property, which is about a half an acre. And I am really lucky that I have a very handy husband who has been able to set up automated timers. But before he was able to do that, I used to use battery operated timers that you can get at your local box stores, or even your local, large box store like a Walmart or a Target or a Home Depot. So I'm not pitching for any of those, just naming ones that you can get, those automated battery operated timers. And a lot of times, or I'm sure you can buy them online as well, and those battery operated timers often have 2 stations, meaning you can put 2 different irrigation lines off them and have them go off at different times for different periods of time. And I've had those run for me on the same batteries for up to 3 years. So they work great. But you can see these are set up with an automated timer, and I really, really recommend setting them on auto timers, because especially if you're in a warm condition, because the best time to water is very, very early in the mornings. The plants essentially plump up before having to deal with the heat of the day. And who gets up at 5 o'clock to water for an hour? So I did that a large part of my time before we started. We set up irrigation here on this property, and it is just a huge sink of time. You water unevenly. Some mornings you don't feel like it. You get some plants more than others. You water for an hour, you water for 15 minutes. It's just very, very irregular. The difference between my plants on automatic watering and hand watering was night and day. So you can see he has hard lines of pipe under the ground, and then each bed has this system popping up, and it has a valve on it to control if I want to turn off some of the beds. For example, if I have a bed that's laying fallow, I can turn it off. He has it hooked this way. I would probably in the future not have as many joints and connections and things that reduce down your water flow, because every time it takes a turn or goes through a connector, you lose a little bit of pressure. And of course, I have these, there's a lot of beds that are really long with a lot of lines. So there's a lot of length and distance reducing down pressure in these beds. But the way he set it up, and then I changed things on him. So in the future, I would probably just have this very simple connect into this black line. So, and this is a 3/4 inch black line right here. And I'm sure there are more simple ways for some people to do this. Maybe even do this off a PVC line. But I have it connected to this black 3/4 inch line with the ends tied off, and then he's of course bolted it here so that it doesn't curve in. And then you can see I have 1/8 inch or no 1/4 inch spaghetti lines hooked into this 3/4 inch black line right here, and I have 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they have built-in drip emitters, so you can see this has a built-in drip emitter into these lines. And I think I got some of this off of, I got all of this off of online in big rolls, because it's much less expensive. And those lines run all the way down the bed. 4 lines is perfect. And when you have a bed that's full of really, really nice compost, they drain really quickly. So my drip emitters are set every 6 inches. They also have lines that are set every 12 inches, but that's better for more of a landscaping, native soil on the ground situation where you have plants or trees or shrubs that are set far apart. On native soil, that is often much more clay than this compost, so absorbs water very slowly and holds that water really, really well. For things like veg and flower beds, they're usually full of really, really nice compost that dries really quickly and absorbs really quickly. So you actually want to spread the water over the entire bed. And I have my watering set to go off twice a day, once early in the morning and once in the early afternoon before the peak of the heat. And I find that keeps my moisture content. I don't water for a huge long time. I only water for about 15 minutes. But that keeps my soil moisture very consistent and reduces the stress in the plants. So what you don't want is wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry. You want consistent moisture. And then I've used this Biofilm 360, which is new to me for this year. I've used mulches in the past, plastic mulches and organic mulches and living mulches, and I am trying this for multiple reasons. One, I'm growing a lot of dahlias this year. And dahlias are much like potato tubers. They need the soil to stay cool and moist much cooler and moister than ambient temperature for the best tuber production. And we're in a mega drought in a very hot zone here in Sacramento, California, so I am trying to reduce my evaporative loss. So having the 4 lines means that I can put in plants and have drips on the outside and the inside of each plant, and I can put the plants in between those lines, and they'll get really consistent moisture. And each plant, roughly, if I'm planting them 6 inches apart, has 2 drip emitters per plant on both sides. So like surrounded by 4 drip emitters that they share, which I think is really, really ideal. So anyway, so that is what I am doing with my raised beds. I am also watering a whole bunch of grow bags. So you can see I have grow bags here and all the way to here. And if you're curious about these shade structures, I have another video that talks about these shade structures, so please go ahead and check those out. We just raised them because the dahlias are starting to get so tall. So we just raised them up because the dahlias were starting to bump into the top of these shade structures. So we raised them up about 8 inches yesterday. And you can see I have 5-gallon white containers that were given to me by a wonderful lady named Sharon who was moving. I promised to restock her when she gets settled. So shout out to Sharon. These, I believe, are about 5-gallon. And they're growing really, really well because they were clumps that were not divided. So they got off to a really early start, and they have a whole bunch of energy because they have whole tuber clumps feeding them. So they are definitely my tallest and luscious dahlias. But my single tubers are certainly catching up in these grow bags. And these are all 10-gallon grow bags because the bigger your volume, your soil volume is, the less quickly they dry out. So I will probably set up a separate video for talking about these grow bags and how I water them. But once again, I do have a single line of 1/4-inch drip tubing watering all of these guys, and they are doing really, really well. So they are at different stages of growth. Some of the tubers were woken up early, some didn't survive and were replaced. Some I moved around and added new varieties too, and these are my screening bags to identify the varieties and to screen for disease, because eliminating one grow bag is much easier than dealing with a diseased plant in your precious raised beds. So I will share more about these another time, just so that this video isn't so long. So anyway, I hope your gardens are growing well and you're getting set up to survive the heat. And if you have questions, please let me know. And hopefully everybody is having a wonderful summer growing season, and happy growing, everyone.